For my 11th birthday, I was given this. A 4th generation iPod Touch. And while this was charging, I figured I'd go ahead and read the quick start guide that was also stored inside here. I mean, while it's charging and booting up for the first time, what better do you have to read? But inside that booklet, they were hyping up all the new features and all the stuff that they thought was really cool, and one of the things they were hyping up in there was the gyroscope inside the device. But one of the things that they did was a little thing they called tilt to steer. And basically, they had a racing game on there, and they showed you could tilt the device left and right, and you could move the car left and right. Now, I was blown away by the graphics in the screenshot for this game. It looked like something out of this world. Now, I made a mental note right then and there that the very first game I'd buy and download was going to be this one. Now, you might be wondering, what mobile game am I talking about that could have been such a big deal? Well, I'm talking about Real Racing. That's right, the OG, Real Racing 1. Released on June 8th, 2009 by Firemint, with its fast-paced racing and stellar graphics, Real Racing would receive extremely high praise from both critics and players alike. Despite having the word real in its title, the game would not have any licensed tracks, and only one real licensed car, the Volkswagen Golf GTI. The car would be featured prominently in Real Racing's light demo game, Real Racing GTI, which sadly has faded into obscurity. Unfortunately, the game would only have the spotlight for a little while, as its sequel, Real Racing 2, would once again blow everyone away. With everyone distracted by the sequel and a promised third game in the franchise, Real Racing's delisting in 2012 went almost completely unnoticed. But now, it's time to resurrect this iconic iOS racer from beyond the grave. Let's begin the hunt. My hunt began with a simple search on YouTube, as I'd like to start by just seeing how recently someone has posted a gameplay video. As you can imagine, things weren't very promising. But I kept my hopes up high as I shifted gears to Google search and started looking for the game's IPA file, which is the file type for iOS. Now, when you're looking for IPA files, iPhone Cake is the website to go to when you're looking for IPA downloads. Period. So when they didn't have it, I knew I was in for a long hunt. All the while I'm Google searching, I'm having to sift through both Real Racing 2 and Real Racing 3 results that I'm not looking for. But eventually, I found what I was looking for on the Internet Archive website, of all places. With the IPA file downloaded, all I needed to do was pull off some trickery in the installation department, and I'd be on my way. But of course, that wouldn't go smoothly. You see, if the file isn't directly from Apple, Apple will make it all but impossible to install it. I originally thought that I might be able to add the IPA to my iTunes selection on the computer and then add it to my iPad that way. But it turns out Apple flat out removed the apps section from iTunes in an update. So now I was having to dig up and install an older version of iTunes, only to find out that Apple would stop me again, and the apps wouldn't install that way either. It seemed as if I was at a dead end. So close, with the game file in hand, but no way to install it. If I wanted to get real racing working on this device, I would need to think outside of the box. I would need to find a workaround for Apple's insanely strict security. My answer would come in the form of something called sideloading. What is sideloading? Sideloading allows someone like me to install an app outside of Apple's Circle on a different program instead of Apple's online store. Now there's several different programs out there that specialize in sideloading. Some require jailbreaking, some don't. But after a ton of digging and some YouTube tutorials, I found the program that I wanted. Finally, I was able to boot up the original Real Racing. And let me just say, after booting this up, it's been at least 8 years or so. Wow. Just wow. This game has aged incredibly well, just so incredibly well. I genuinely had to keep reminding myself that this game came out in 2009 on ancient iOS software. And while it would have been a nice bonus to also find the free demo game, it just wasn't going to happen. But let's move on to the installation tutorial so you all can play this game yourself. Alright, now it's time to get on to the installation tutorial section of the video. And before I get into the tutorial, I want to just make a little disclaimer here. The simplest I can make it is it's got to be a 32-bit iOS device. If you've got a 64-bit iOS device, I am 99.99999% sure that it's not going to work. Okay, you've got to have an older 32-bit iOS device for the app to properly install and run on your device. The device I'm using for this tutorial and demonstration is an iPad 4th generation. It is the last iPad Apple made compatible with 32-bit iOS. The iOS version itself is 10.3.3. Again, the last compatible iOS version for that 32-bit running iOS. So, with that out of the way, if you've got a compatible device, you may continue. If you don't have a compatible device, unfortunately, there's really no iOS emulators out there, so you're kind of, my hands are kind of tied there. It's got to be an actual, legitimate device, otherwise this won't work. So, anyway, on to the actual tutorial. First thing you need is the game file itself. in the description, you will see this link right here. That is the link you want to go to. This will take you to the Internet Archive. All right, once you've hit that link and you're on this page, you want to just click this one, and really these are both the same. You can click 6 original or 6 files. It's the same thing. You click that button and you'll see down here on the bottom left, it will start to download a zip file. Obviously, I'm going to cancel it because I've already got it. That's what you want to do. It'll download that zip file right there. Once that file is done downloading, you can go to your download section and you will have to extract the zip file. And inside of it will be 2 IPA files. One of them is for the iPad version of the game, and the other is for the iPhone or iPod Touch version of the game. The next thing you're going to need is a way to install it onto your device, since iTunes and Apple won't let you do so, because obviously you're getting this from a third-party source instead of directly from the App Store. You're going to need a program called Sideloadly. Again, link will be in the description. It'll take you right to this page right here. You're on this page, you'll want to scroll all the way down to here, and you'll see options here for Mac OS. You have 64 and 32-bit Windows. Obviously, this all depends on the device you're using, on the computer you're using. Obviously, for me, I would download the 64-bit version. That's obviously the version you'd want. Click down here, it would show up again, bottom left of the screen. That will, obviously that's the exe file. So once that would be done downloading, you want to go run that exe and set up Sideloadly. Now if you do need a tutorial on how to set up Sideloadly, I'll see if I can't put a card up here in the corner of the screen that will help you get Sideloadly set up, because you do need an Apple account to set up Sideloadly. Now whether you want to use your main real account, or if you want to make a dummy account that you don't use for anything else but side-loading apps, that's up to you. But I'm going to, in this example, I'm going to use my legitimate account. I'm going to use a legitimate account and boot it up that way. So you'll get to this point right here. Now this is where I'm going to bring up this, because this will allow me to show you what's happening on this tablet screen right here at the same time as we're installing the game, because we're going to have to go between these two at some point. So obviously, again, you've set up Sideloadly and you're to this point right here, okay? You've got your account set up, you've got the device plugged into the computer. You want to make sure both devices are hooked up to the internet. In this example, in this demonstration run, they are both hooked up to my phone's hotspot. So they're on the same network. I don't think that is important enough. I don't think that's a must. I think they can be hooked up to different networks, but both the computer and the tablet need to be connected to Wi-Fi for this to work. And I will explain why once I start. So you've got this all booted up. You got them both connected to the internet. You want to click this right here, this big old IPA logo, okay? You click on that, and this will bring up the directory. This is where you'll need to find those IPA files that you downloaded, okay? In this case, I've obviously got them over here. Now, as you can see, there's the HD version. It says iPad only in parentheses, and then you've got the 1.27 version. That's the iPhone version. Obviously, in this example, we're going to do red base. You click on that, click open, and boom, now it's selected. Only thing that's left on the computer end of this will be to click the big old start button, and it will start the process. So the reason why the computer and the tablet need to be connected to the internet, and you need a legitimate Apple account to do this, is because this program needs to send Apple an ID. Basically, every app has an ID, basically. What Apple does with that dummy ID is it allows me, the user, access to this app for 7 days. Unfortunately, after those 7 days, the app will stop working, and I will have to do this process over again. But what this does is it basically just tells Apple, hey, he wants to use this device, he wants to use this app. We're not going to tell you what it is, but we're going to give you a fake ID that says it's such and such thing, so Apple will be like, oh, okay, here's 7 days to use it, and then we'll, immediately remove your access of it, because we're Apple and we're terrible. And oh, there we go. We just get boom, there it is on the screen. Okay. Okay, if I try to hit it now, it will say, oh no, we have an issue here, okay? Untrusted developer. Okay? Now you may think you've done something wrong, but you haven't, okay? There's one more step, one last step to make this work, okay? You want to go over to your settings, General, go all the way to the bottom, and hit Device Management. Like that. And you'll see here that it's a verified app, but we haven't trusted it yet. So let's hit the Trust button. Yes. And now, Apple's giving you the go-ahead. All right, Apple's just said, you know what? You've trusted this app. You believe it's legitimate. It's not a virus or an ad or a hack of some kind. Here you go. So we're going to boot it up. And it works. And there you go. Working flawlessly as intended. So it's a bit complicated. There's quite a few steps involved. But that is how you get basically a game that's not even been on the store for, gosh, been on the store for like, I don't know, 10 years or something. The only downside is that 7-day window that Apple gives you, because if you're going to try and beat the game, you need to beat it in 7 days, because at the end of those 7 days, the app's not going to work anymore, and you're going to have to delete it and reinstall it with sideloadly here, and you're going to lose all your progress. So, unfortunately for a completionist, this isn't very fun, because you're going to have to beat it in a week. And then even if you do, you're going to lose all your progress and you're not going to have anything to show for it. So, in that aspect, it is a little bit, unfair. But if you're like me and you just want to play the game again after all this time, this is about the only thing you can do. But yeah, there's the tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to stop here and I'll kick it on over to the next segment where I'll give you some final thoughts and some gameplay. Fireman's Real Racing set the bar for mobile racing games for years to come, and it shows just what this racing franchise would consistently do: amaze us and blow us away with every release. This game is an absolute blast from the past to play. And if you've played Real Racing 1 before, I believe you'll be genuinely surprised with just how well this game holds up after all this time. And if you've never played Real Racing 1 before, I cannot highly recommend this game enough. As always, I'll leave you all with some gameplay. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps this channel out a lot. And be sure to stick around till after the gameplay to see a sneak peek of the next episode. So until next time, keep on gaming. on the next episode of Delisted. Now, back in 2009, the more superior form of mobile and portable gaming was believed to be on a device like this, the Nintendo DS, or maybe even something like the PlayStation Portable. And while Apple and Android were making mobile devices at the time, none of the games on the system were taken very seriously. But there was one developer that was going to break that stereotype. It would be something that we had never seen before, and I personally believe we've never seen since. The idea was to make Gran Turismo on this.